From making a mark in the UFC at the age of 23 to returning after a 3-year break to reclaim his stage, Jon Jones has come back home. And this time, he's got a budding bromance going. Yep, it seems like longtime UFC commentator Joe Rogan is stoked to have the New Yorker back. He's covered Jones' career since it began in August 2008 at UFC 87, and ever since his return, has been pretty adept at making some pretty strong assertions. On the Joe Rogan Experience, Rogan declared that Jon Jones was the GOAT. According to him, there's no denying it anymore.
Jon Jones is the GOAT.
He's the GOAT.
Now it's undeniable.
It's undeniable.
There was all this debate until he submitted Rogan and became the heavyweight champion. No one can.
We all know there was much discussion before he defeated Rogan and won the heavyweight title. But now, the man is untouchable. Joe believes that there's one element of the game that you're never going to defeat Jon in, and it's wrestling. And that's something that was exposed in the battle between Gon and Francis Ngannou. Okay, but is that a stretch? Many seem to think so, as a lot of them responded by pointing out that he didn't even know Francis was going to wrestle him. But Rogan has an answer to that as well. According to him, Francis is not a fighter of the same caliber, not even in the same realm as Jon Jones by any means. Bones has been in the game since he was 12 years old, for crying out loud. He went ahead and defeated an Olympic-caliber wrestler, Daniel Cormier. So now, no man in the world can claim that you can begin grappling at the age of 29 to contend with Jon Jones. For that, you'd need to be the freakiest of freak athletes. At least, that's Joe's take on it. And you know what? I'm all for bros supporting bros. It's 2023. Like, come on. But even I get a whiff of some good old-fashioned bromance here. Rogan asserted that you can't unintentionally defeat Jon Jones. He's now the GOAT. Better than everyone and anyone. For Joe, the discussion also includes Mighty Mouse, the infamous Demetrius Johnson, and Khabib Nurmagomedov. According to the commentator, there's only one issue with Johnson, that aside from Henry Cejudo and a few other opponents like Joseph Benavidez. And that is that Johnson was not working with opponents of the same caliber as those Jon Jones was up against. Even when he was using cocaine and not even training, he never lost when confronting the top of the chain. That, for Rogan, is evidence of just how exceptional Jon Jones is. Do you agree? Perhaps you'd like some context. So let's talk about the man's journey in the UFC. It's no secret that the world won't forget Jon Jones' comeback to the battlefield anytime soon. Jones made UFC history by winning the light heavyweight championship at the ripe old age of 23, a feat that ended up making him the youngest champion ever to win the title. And from the looks of it, the man was far from being done. Since then, it's clear that he only gave us a preview of what was to come, especially when he dominated his way to a third-round TKO victory over Mauricio Shogun Rua, who held the title at the time. With the exception of the no contest in his rematch with Daniel Cormier, Jones has won all 15 of his bouts since that March 2011 crowning. The MMA fighter returned to the ring at UFC 285 earlier this month, after a 3-year-long absence. He returned with increased weight as well, just like he had promised to do more than 10 years ago. And he took the UFC by storm in an instant. Obviously, the man's return sprung up conversations on whether he's actually as good as they remember him. So Jones decided that the world needs a reminder. And with a first-round guillotine choke, Bones defeated the French heavyweight Rogan. Like it's no big deal. The win gave him his second class championship and ended most people's debate about who is the greatest of all time. At this point, Jones might not have much left to do, because his main priority is scheduling his first championship defense. This time, against Stipe Miocic, a past 2-time champion and legendary member of his division. Although nothing is confirmed yet, it is anticipated that the fight will take place at UFC 290 on July 8th in Las Vegas. Yep, you guessed it, all a part of the International Fight Week 2023. But let's rewind to Joe for a bit. Joe Rogan is a well-known name in the MMA community. The man has vast knowledge and insights into the nuances of fighting tactics, all thanks to his more than 20 years of experience as the UFC's live fight announcer and expert. But that's not all. His black belt in jiu-jitsu and taekwondo adds to his reputation. and increases the demand for his advice. As much as he may admire the 35-year-old fighter Bones, Joe spoke about Jon Jones' combat style and why it worries him in a recent edition of the Joe Rogan Experience. So, on JRE MMA number 136, Joe Rogan welcomed Jamahal Hill, the newly crowned UFC light heavyweight champion, so the two could talk about different MMA techniques and whether they are good or bad. They discussed their opinions on the strength of various maneuvers, as well as their worries regarding particular tactics. The conversation that followed brought up a lot of conflicting opinions about Jones and his work. According to the two, it's undoubtedly a delicate balancing act, choosing your fighting tactics. Now, Joe Rogan is one person who's been following Jon for a longer period than most. Still, he doesn't approve of a particular move the fighter does: the oblique kick. Jon Jones is renowned for using the obliques kick, which Joe Rogan has said he despises. Basically, a sidekick to the leg of an upright opponent is an oblique kick. He talked about how Khalil Roundtree and Modestas Bukakas used the sidekick during a recent broadcast of the JRE. Unfortunately, the move caused serious injury to Bukakas' knee, and Jamahal Hill seems to agree. He mentioned how he's not a supporter of that tactic either. According to Joe, though, the kick worries him, given the potential disastrous results of this move. Both combatants are wary of using it. Although the oblique kick is a permitted attack in mixed martial arts, Rogan and Hill don't exactly approve. They are aware that the maneuver has the potential to seriously harm a fighter's career. So in the spirit of the sport and the fighter's well-being, they think it should be avoided. In the end, their discussion serves as a warning that MMA is a physically taxing and occasionally risky sport. And even when they're in it to win it, the fighters must exercise extreme caution when using techniques in the cage. Remember, safety first, folks. Always. Also, this isn't the first time Joe gave Bones some advice. In a recent episode of his podcast, Rogan went deep in depth about a discussion he once had with the 35-year-old star. According to Joe, the guy's crazy. But apparently, when everything was going down, Jon and he had a discussion, one in which he told him, "You are a wild but that's the kind of guy who becomes the greatest of all time. Being a regular fella doesn't automatically qualify you to be the GOAT. So the man may have made errors or done stupid things, but he's still the best time. And that's something he will prove to the world one day. That's just who Jon Jones is, in his opinion. So he told him to recover from this and go show it to the world. I mean, do you guys see the sparks flying too? Because I sure do. That's a wrap on Joe and Jones bromance.